So, some backstory. My parents split when I was 14. It wasn't a good breakup. My dad was an abusive drug addict. So, when my mom left him, she was in a really bad place. Her and my older sister kept taking her to local bars since my mom was depressed. This led to my mom becoming an alcoholic since my sister was well on her way to becoming one too. During one of these nights, she met a guy. I didn't know much about him, just that they met him and his brother at a bar, and now she was dating him. It went pretty fast, and my sister would flirt with the brother to get free food and drinks from him. Around this time, I was about 15, and this dude just seemed off. He was probably early 40s or so, and he was always going on my mom's dates with his brother. He just kinda hung around a lot. One day my sister decided to go with him. She wanted sushi and called the brother up to take us both because she knew he would pay. I did not want to go, but we didn't have food in the house, and I was hungry. We didn't have a sushi place in our town, so we had to drive to the city, which was about 30 minutes away. The entire ride, I just had this warning feeling in my stomach that kept telling me to get out of the car, that this was a bad idea. I was a giant ball of anxiety. The whole 30 minutes, my sister sat in the front seat completely oblivious to what was happening. Meanwhile, I kept catching him staring at me in the rearview mirror. Once we got to the restaurant, he sat himself directly across from me. He wanted to sit next to me, but I rushed to the seat next to my sister instead. It was awkward, but my sister talked a lot, so I was able to kinda hide. Eventually, she got up to go to the bathroom, and then I was alone with him. Almost immediately, he asked if I had a boyfriend. I said no. That's good, he said. You're too good for high school boys. They're only in it for one thing. I just nodded, not knowing what to say. He then went on to ask if I liked Disneyland, and I said yes. He got excited and went on about how he would take me, but hotels were expensive, so we'd have to share a room. It would just be us, so my mom and his brother could be alone. He said my sister could not come, though, because he could not afford to pay for both of us to go. At this point, I was extremely uncomfortable, and I just wanted my sister to come back. She finally did, and he switched to talking to her. She didn't notice anything wrong, or that he kept looking at me. Once we finished, he took us home and invited himself in. I went to my room, locked the door, and hid. At one point, someone tried to open my door, but they stopped once they felt it was locked. My mom and her boyfriend came home around then. I tried talking to my sister, but she brushed me off. They had invited us back to their house, and I wanted so badly to stay home, but they forced me to go. Almost immediately, my mom and her boyfriend went to the room and left my sister and I with him. He got my sister drunk pretty fast and tried to get me to drink, but I kept refusing. It got to the point where my sister was almost blacked out drunk, and I was freaking out because once she passed out, it would just be us. I started texting my brothers, hoping one of them would pick up. Thank God my oldest brother responded. I told him what was happening, and he came to get me. He showed up and told the guy that it was too late, and I had to go to school, so he was taking me home. He tried to protest, but my brother was very firm about it. He loaded my sister in the car, texted my mom he was taking us home, and then we left. My brother didn't live with us since he was about 30 at the time, and he had his own family, so he didn't know what was going on. I told him the full story, and he got real quiet and then waited till my mom got home. He told her off, shamed her for putting us in that situation, and told her that if it continued, he would move me into his house. My mom broke down and told him she wanted to break up with her boyfriend because of his brother. I found out when I was older that he would sneak by the door to listen to them when they had sex. I think that more had happened, but my mom never talked about it more than that. She broke up with him, got a good job, sobered up, with the help of my brother. It took my sister a lot longer, but she eventually got her life together. So this happened when I was 18 years old. I didn't have much dating experience. Hell, I didn't know shit about dating. I grew up in a very strict family. We weren't religious or anything. It's just my mom was a cunt and my father was a complete asshole. They'd literally ground me for getting a B on an assignment at school. They were the rich yuppie type. They didn't care about nothing but money, and they'd always tell me that I was stupid and that I'd never amount to anything because I'm retarded and I get bad grades. So one day I'm on Facebook, I'm checking my messages and playing those stupid games that you get on Facebook. And then out of nowhere I get this friend request from this super cute guy. I accept, and he immediately starts messaging me. He asks how I'm doing. Everything seems innocent and all. He then tells me I'm pretty and I'm loving the attention, and I'm thinking that he is being genuine and that he actually likes me. We chat for a few hours, and he's a smooth talking motherfucker to say the least. He then asks why I don't have more pictures, or that many pictures. I tell him I don't know, and he tells me that I'm sexy, and that he wants to see me in my bikini. I'm nervous as fuck, but I don't want to lose this guy. He's super cute and sweet, or so he seems. So I send him some bikini pics, and then he asks if I want to do a video chat, and I agree. He starts innocent, telling me he wants to take me out to dinner and a movie, and tells me that he's romantic, and he seems so sweet. He then asks me to show him my titties. I'm nervous, and I'm shy about doing so. He somehow knows just the right words to make me let my guard down, and I end up giving him a full live show. Weeks go by, and I never hear from him again. I write him on Facebook, and he ignores my messages. Several weeks go by, and he asks me for more pictures. I tell him no, and that I want to talk about our relationship. He calls me a tease and a whore, and then he blocks me. In college, I got into a relationship with a guy. He was fine until he found Jesus. He quickly went crazy, claiming demons spoke to him, trying to buy weapons from some shady friends we had, fantasizing about how he would hurt people, and becoming incredibly controlling and physically abusive, nearly killing me a few times. Needless to say, I got the fuck out. After a few threats and really crazy behaviors, he left me alone for a while, and I thought that was that. I was headed to my dorm after a meeting one night when I decided to pass it and go to the student union, which was right down the street. I got some ice cream. As I passed the dorm, I heard steps behind me. I turned around, and I thought I saw someone in a white shirt duck behind a big signboard. I kept walking, listening carefully. I heard something move and whipped around again. There, a person, his size, staring at me from behind a tree. I couldn't see very well, but it really looked like him. I was mildly freaked out by then, but I just walked a little faster. I'd heard the occasional footsteps and breathing behind me, but I didn't dare stop or let on that I knew someone, probably him, was there. I knew he owned a gun and would likely put a bullet into me given the chance. He was that psycho and upset that I dared to break up with him. I walked all the way to the Union and got some ice cream and just sat there in the store eating, unwilling to go back out into the unlit street in case it was my crazy, armed ex. I still hadn't mustered the nerve to head back when my phone buzzed. My heart just fell out of my chest when I saw the message. It was some of my friends, a sweet couple. They'd been walking way behind me when they saw something that alarmed them enough to text me. Your ex is walking around the street. They called me before I could even text them back. Where are you? Your ex is prowling around here near your dorm. He was coming back from the direction of the Union. I think he had a gun. Was he with you? What's going on? Panicked, I assured them that I had not been with him, but someone who looked like him
had been following me, and I was at the Union and was too scared to go back alone. They practically yelled at me to stay there and not go anywhere, and that they were coming. A few minutes later, they came running into the Union, breathless, eyes wide, asking why he was by my dorm and what had happened. This is possibly what scared me most of all. The boyfriend, who is a black belt in karate, is never scared, looked absolutely terrified. He was coiled into some kind of fighting stance and looking around wildly, afraid that my ex would appear with his gun. They told me they were taking me back to my dorm and calling the cops. They sandwiched between me and them, and we walked back to my dorm as quickly as we dared, the boyfriend walking in front and yelling into the darkness that my ex had better not try anything. I let the two of them into my dorm, and we went to my room, where my roommates put in a frantic call to the police. As we peeked out the windows facing the street and the side of the dorm, there he was, lurking in the trees to the side of the dorm, looking up. A street light reflected something in his hand, something shiny. I saw him tug at the 22 I realized he was carrying and looked up. We locked eyes, and I saw something, this kind of rage in his eyes that froze me. At that moment, I knew he was really out to kill me, and my friends and I had foiled him this time. He quickly turned and ran away through the trees. We didn't know whether he would come back and try to break in or something, so we called the police again, and lo and behold, sirens within minutes, and officers with guns drawn coming to the area. They caught him a few hours later, still with the 22 in hand. He confessed he was indeed going to try to kill me if he had the chance, but he didn't want to take pop shots at me with my friends there. Apparently, since I had broken up with him, he was giving over to Satan, and he had a duty to make sure I died and went to hell. Of course, he went to jail and later to a mental hospital, and I moved out of that dorm a week later. I just couldn't live with the thought that he could break out and come after me again. I got some cop friends to keep an eye on my roommates until they could move out too. I was never really the same after that. I was so afraid and paranoid for years and years. Now I came out and about without any fear, but I still have nightmares about him staring at me through the trees, gun in hand, and eyes full of rage.